Discover the incredible moment a millionaire changed the life of a struggling single mom and her children forever. The air was heavy with tension that afternoon at Maplewood School. As the sun dipped low, casting a warm glow over the vibrant playground, Sarah rushed in with a tray of snacks. Her heart raced, not from the weight of the trays, but from the anticipation of joy on her students' faces. Suddenly, the fire alarm blared, a shrill scream that shattered the usual hum of chatter. Panic erupted. A plume of smoke curled its way into the corridors, choking her spirit. The sight of terrified little faces sent her instincts into overdrive. "Stay calm," Sarah shouted, her hands moving through the crowd like a lighthouse cutting through fog. She ushered students towards the exits, her breath catching in her throat as she scanned the chaos. Emma and Jake were safe, but her heart pounded louder for the other kids, who looked to her with wide eyes. "Follow me. We're getting out," she urged, embodying courage she didn't even know she had. As she helped a terrified first grader escape, Jack, a reclusive millionaire with a heart weighed down by guilt, watched from a distance. The flames reflected in his eyes, but the image that truly burned into his mind was Sarah's unwavering bravery. He was struck by a memory of simpler times filled with compassion and community, a stark contrast to the isolated world he had built around himself. With every student she rescued, he wanted to shout, "Yes, that's what true strength looks like." As the ashes settled and the community rushed to contain the aftermath, whispers filled the air. Sarah, a beacon of hope one moment, became the center of scrutiny the next. Jack struggled with the urge to reach out, to help her rise from the ashes. But how could he without triggering judgment? Days passed, and everywhere Sarah went, she felt those eyes on her, those whispers of envy tangled with admiration. She had always prided herself on working hard for what she had, and now, the very notion of accepting help felt like betrayal. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue with each passing day. Sarah faced a moral dilemma. Jack appeared here and there, a silent watcher who, driven by nostalgia, wanted to help Sarah's family. Should she swallow her pride for Emma and Jake's sake? Every night, after tucking them into bed, Sarah's thoughts spiraled. Will I risk everything I believe in? Then fate intervened. A job opportunity came her way, one that might finally lift her family out of the shadows of struggle and into the light of stability. But if she accepted it, would she be shackling herself to someone else's notion of success, risking the very essence of who she was? As she weighed possibilities, an unexpected fire broke out near her building, drawing the community together once more in chaos. Heart racing, she was pulled back into the whirlwind, testing her priorities and the vulnerability of her choices. In that moment, surrounded by community and crisis, would she finally find the path meant for her? The tension in the air was palpable as the fire truck engine roared up, its sirens piercing through the chaos. Sarah stepped outside with her students, her heart pounding not just from adrenaline, but from the weight of decisions hanging over her. The flames licking at the sky reminded her all too well of her own struggles, but they also tapped into a deep well of resolve within her. "Stay close," she called, counting heads like a lifeguard at a beach, ensuring no child was left behind. Emma and Jake were right beside her, their small hands clutching tightly to hers, eyes wide with fear and fascination. The neighborhood was buzzing with activity, neighbors rushing to help. It was a media frenzy, reporters capturing the chaos, the fear, and the brave faces of the people in the community. Sarah felt the pressure mount. She was at the center of it all again. In the distance, Jack watched as the fire was put out. He felt helpless. His instincts screamed at him to approach Sarah, to offer her assistance in whatever way he could. But what would she think? Would she see him as just another privileged onlooker? As he stood there, watching her, something clicked inside him, a realization that staying silent was not an option. Determined, he started walking toward her. "Sarah!" he shouted, making his way through the crowd. The sound of her name had an immediate effect. Her head snapped around, her eyes meeting his. In that moment, a flicker of recognition crossed her face, followed by a shadow of uncertainty. "What do you want, Jack?" Her voice was steady, but a tremor of vulnerability betrayed her. "I just wanted to make sure you're okay," he replied, though that was only half of the truth. He wanted to give her something. He wanted to help her. Around them, a crowd formed, eager to hear the conversation. Jack sensed the weight of their gazes, the unspoken judgments swirling around, but he pushed through. "Listen, I know things have been rough, and I'm in a position to help you financially if you need it." Sarah bristled. "Help? Like charity? No thanks, I don't need your pity." She stepped back, anger mixing with a hint of something else, fear perhaps. "It's not pity. I admire what you're doing for those kids," he insisted, his voice rising slightly over the noise. "You're a hero, and you deserve more than what this life is throwing at you." Her eyes narrowed. "Why do you care? You've never shown an ounce of interest until now." Jack felt his heart sink. She was right, he had been an observer, a distant figure all too comfortable with his own life. But the way she had responded to the chaos, it drew him to her like a moth to a flame. "I do care," he murmured, almost to himself. "I made a lot of money, but I lost sight of what matters. And what I see in you, it reminds me of what I forgot." As her face softened, a flicker of doubt crossed her features. The specter of her pride clashed with the harsh reality of her struggles. "Jack," Sarah said slowly, feeling the weight of her circumstances, "I can't just take what you offer. I need to find my own path." Just then, a loud commotion erupted from down the street, drawing attention away from their confrontation. A small crowd had gathered, and the thunderous roar of a second fire truck echoed through the neighborhood, adding urgency to the atmosphere. "Sarah, please," Jack urged, trying to meet her gaze once more. "Let me help, even if just as a friend." As their eyes locked, she saw the sincerity in his commitment. But the shadows behind her eyes remained, showing that the decision weighed heavily on her heart. "Maybe we can talk later," she finally said, torn between her instinct to protect her independence and the need to safeguard her children as future. With emotions racing, both of them turned towards the source of chaos against the backdrop of an unfolding crisis. Everything felt uncertain. In that moment, Sarah realized that accepting help might lead to more than just assistance. It could pave the way to understanding her own worth, tangled in the fire of her soul. What would she decide when the ashes settled? Would she dare to reclaim her voice, even if it meant confronting the truth of her fears? Jack watched her, waiting for her next move, the stakes higher than ever. The noise of the second fire truck filled the air, drowning out their conversation. Thick smoke lingered, and Sarah turned toward the growing crowd that was now forming around another chaotic scene. Her instincts kicked in. She had to make sure her students remained safe and sound. "Let us move back a little," she urged, her voice firm yet calm. She led Emma and Jake away from the noise, prioritizing their comfort over the unfolding drama. Jack stayed a few steps behind, his heart pounding as he watched her navigate the chaos with a grace he admired. "Is everything going to be okay?" Jake asked, looking up at Sarah with wide eyes, worry etched across his small face. "Of course. People are helping," she replied, kneeling down to meet his gaze. "You know how brave we are, right?" "They're brave," Emma piped in, her tiny voice shaking slightly. Jack couldn't help but smile at her reassuring words. It was impressive how Sarah turned terror into a moment of strength for those kids. But something inside him tugged harder. He was just an onlooker anymore. He felt compelled to do more. Unable to resist the urge, he stepped closer once again, his heart clenching in an unsteady rhythm. "Sarah," he called, his voice steady against the background noise of sirens and chatter. She paused, glancing over her shoulder, surprised to see him so resolute. "What?" she asked, a hint of irritation creeping back into her tone. "I can help with the kids, or anything else you need." He didn't want to come off as insincere, but the words flowed out like water from a flowing creek, uncontrollable and urgent. I could that moment. The flames began to dwindle. Emergency crews had managed to bring the fire under control. A collective sigh spread through the crowd, and everyone began to stir with relief. However, Sarah remained focused on him, weighing his words carefully. "I appreciate it. I really do," she said, her voice lower now. "But I'm not some project you could take on. I'm just trying to stay afloat." Jack could feel a mix of anger at her stubbornness and admiration for her strength. "You're not a project. You're someone who deserves support just like anyone else. Please understand that." "Support?" Her eyes flashed with equal parts skepticism and hope. "If I accept your help, will it come with strings attached? Will I owe you?" He hesitated, but something strange stirred within him. "No, no strings. Just friendship if you want it. I want to see you succeed. No gimmicks. Just you." In that moment, her facade cracked, if only for a second. He could see the way uncertainty painted her eyes. She was a fighter, but so deeply worn, standing on the edge of something she couldn't quite grasp. The gathered neighbors began chatting excitedly about the firefighters, leaving Sarah and Jack on the fringes of the volume. The distance between them seemed to diminish, their breaths almost synchronizing as they stood close, two hearts caught in the aftermath of a shared fire. "Tell me you'll think about it," Jack urged as he reached out, placing his hand gently on her arm. A frail connection that felt electrifying in a whirlwind of emotions. Still processing, Sarah looked down at his hand before meeting his gaze once again. "I'll think about it, but I can't promise anything, Jack." He nodded, feeling that shot of electricity flicker in the air between them. "That is all I can ask for." Just as Sarah began to respond, a loud crackle erupted from the remnants of the fire, sending another wave of chaos throughout the crowd. The children gasped, instinctively pulling closer to her. "Let us get them out of here. It's south too close," Sarah said, urgency creeping into her tone. She turned to lead her students back towards their school, while keeping a watchful eye on the commotion. Jack realized then that he was ready to let her go. He needed to be by her side, to prove that he truly meant what he said. As they walked, he trailed alongside her, heart racing and thoughts spinning. What would come next? Would she let down her walls enough to accept, not just his help, but perhaps the chance for something deeper? With the future hanging in the balance, a question lingered in the air. Could a shared moment born from chaos ignite something neither of them ever expected? The walk back to school felt heavy with unspoken words and suppressed emotions. Jack glanced at Sarah, her brow furrowed in concentration as she kept a protective stance in front of her students. The lively chatter of the crowd faded as they neared the school grounds, the smell of smoke still clinging to the air like an unwelcome ghost. "Are you okay?" he finally asked, breaking the silence between them. The tone was softer now, laced with genuine concern. She took a deep breath, her hands gripping tightly on the straps of her bag. "I'm fine. Just thinking." "About what?" His curiosity was genuine. He wanted to break through the wall she had put up, to see the real Sarah. "Just how sometimes it feels like I'm swimming against the tide," she said, her voice almost a whisper. "Like no matter how hard I try, I'm still getting swept away." Understanding filled Jack's chest, a warmth that contrasted with the earlier chaos. "You're not alone in this, Sarah. I'm here," he reassured, matching her pace as she slowed down to let the children catch their breath. She looked ahead, reluctance in her eyes. "But I don't know what that means for me. If I let you in, what if I fail? Or worse, what if I let you down?" Her vulnerability hung in the air, fragile yet powerful. Jack took a step closer, feeling the invisible bond growing stronger. "You want to let me down," he said firmly. "That's not how this works. What I want is to be here for you. No judgments." The hesitant look on her face told him she was still wrestling with her thoughts. As they reached the school, the sounds of other children laughing and playing brought a sliver of normality back into their world. Jack watched as Sarah gathered Emma and Jake close, her protective instincts kicking back in as she ushered them towards the familiar doors. "All right, everyone inside," she called out, her voice filled with authority that reassured the kids. But even as she turned to face Jack, he could see the weariness lingering in her eyes, the tension in her shoulders. "Can we at least talk later?" he pressed, hoping she would agree. "You don't have to face everything alone. Let us meet up after school. Just let it out." She hesitated again, biting her lip as emotions danced in her eyes. Finally, she nodded, but it felt tentative. "Okay, I'll think about it. Just don't expect too much from me." Jack couldn't help but smile. It was a small victory, but it meant a lot. "That is all I'm asking for. No expectations. Just a chat." As they watched the children scamper into the building, a lingering silence settled between them, comforting in its own way. But then, just as Sarah turned to lead them inside, her expression changed dramatically. A figure stood at the foot of the stairs, silhouetted against the fading light. "What is it?" Jack asked, immediately alert as he noticed her sudden change in demeanor. "Is that?" She trailed off, eyes wide, her expression a mix of disbelief and concern. Jack squinted, trying to see who she was looking at. But whoever it was, they were walking towards them with purpose. A chill ran down his spine, and a sense of unease fluttered in his stomach. Who could that be? And what did they want with Sarah? Whatever was about to unfold, he knew it would change everything. "Let's just get the kids inside," Jack urged, sensing the tension bubbling under the surface. Yet he couldn't shake the feeling that the day was far from over, and that this moment held something significant for both of them. As the stranger approached, Jack's heart raced with unanswered questions, every nerve in him alert to the possibilities of what each word might reveal. What was the mystery looming just beyond the school door? Jack's eyes narrowed as the figure drew closer. It was a woman, her expression unreadable, yet there was an intensity about her that suggested profound matters were at play. Sarah's breathing came in short, quick bursts, and he could feel the tension radiate from her as they stood in the doorway. "Sarah?" the woman called, her voice cutting through the hushed murmurs of the children. "Who are you?" Sarah managed, despite her trembling voice betraying her composure. "I'm here to talk," the woman said, her gaze unwavering. "About the past, about your family." Jack's stomach turned. This was more than just an unexpected visitor. He could see Sarah's resolve begin to crack, the weight of the moment suffocating her. "Maybe we should go inside," he suggested, keeping his voice steady to mask his concern. "No," Sarah shot back, stepping forward instinctively, as if the words could shield her from whatever storm was brewing. "I'm not ready to talk about this." "Enough is enough, Sarah. You can't keep running from it," the woman urged, her tone softer now, layered with urgency. But it only seemed to deepen Sarah's panic. "Who are you? What do you want?" Jack pressed, protective instincts flaring. He needed to shield Sarah from whatever this encounter could unleash. "I'm someone who cares," the woman said, running a hand through her disheveled hair. She hesitated, as though grappling with her own emotions, before continuing. "I'm your sister, Sarah. We need to talk about what happened to Mom." The world around them silenced. The joy of the school grounds faded, and all Jack could hear was the pounding of his heart. His mind raced. He could see the fight leaving Sarah's face, disbelief colorizing her features. "No, that can't be. I don't have a sister," she stammered, her voice barely rising above a whisper. "It's true. I didn't know where to find you, but I've been looking for so long." "Mom," she faltered, biting her lip as tears pooled in her eyes. "Mom needs you." Sarah shivered, the wall she had built around her cracking as memories long buried came rushing back. Jack could sense her turmoil, the collision of fear and hope in the depths of her gaze. "Why now? Why after all this time?" Sarah's voice shook, the hurt expressed so profoundly it tore at Jack's heart. He stepped closer, tried to offer her silent support. "Because she's not doing well," the woman replied. "I saw the news," and her voice caught. "I had to find you." Jack's mind swirled. This was no longer just an encounter. It was a catalyst for change. He could feel the gravity of the moment weighing on them both. He wanted to reach out to Sarah, to tell her everything would be all right, but those words felt small given the circumstances. "What do you want me to do?" Sarah asked, her expression a mixture of desolation and tentative resolve. Her hand trembled, and Jack grasped it gently, hoping his presence could anchor her. "Come with me," the woman urged. "Let us face this together. You don't have to go through this alone." Jack caught Sarah's eye, searching for any sign of what she might choose. Would she leave this life behind, stepping willingly into the unknown? Was it time to confront the past that had always loomed over her? Just as he prepared to speak, the bell rang sharply from inside the school, cutting through the tension that hung thick in the air. The kids began filtering out, laughter and chaos overwhelming the seriousness of the moment. "Please, Sarah," the woman pressed, "you need to decide." Sarah's gaze darted between Jack, the woman, and the children bursting out of the school doors, joy in their laughter, an ironic contrast to her inner turmoil. "I need time," she finally said, voice trembling before she pulled away. Jack's heart sank as he heard the uncertainty in her voice but understood her fear. They stood on a precipice of something vast. As the woman stepped back, a sense of urgency filled the air. Jack knew they were at crossroads, and whatever Sarah decided, the repercussions would be seismic. "Let us talk later," he said softly, but inside, he was anxious. What if this was the moment that changed everything for her? As the last echoes of laughter faded, Jack felt a shift, a weight settling on his chest. There was so much unsaid, and the next conversation could either open new doors or close them forever. What lay ahead would challenge everything Sarah believed. Would she choose the painful truth or continue swimming against the tide? Jack watched as Sarah's eyes filled with uncertainty, and he could see the struggle written all over her face. The reality of their everyday lives felt so distant now, overshadowed by the looming specter of her past. She hadn't asked for this upheaval, but here it was demanding her attention. "We can't just stand here," he said, breaking the silence that had momentarily wrapped around them. The laughter of the children had turned into a low murmur as they made their way toward the swings and slides. Joy and innocence buzzed around them, a stark contrast to the storm brewing at the entrance of the school. Sarah started. Then, swallowing hard, she turned to the woman, the hope that had flickered dimly in her eyes now a little more vibrant. "How do I know you're truly my sister?" The woman paused, her expression softening. "I've got pictures. You'll see I look just like Mom. I can show you the family tree." Her voice trembled slightly, revealing the fragility of her own emotions. "You have to trust me, Sarah. This is real." Trust. That word hung in the air awkwardly. Jack could see the inner battle Sarah was fighting. To trust meant to open doors she had tightly shut. It was a leap of faith, and the thought left Jack feeling uneasy. "Maybe we should take a step back. Let us think this through," he began, but the look Sarah gave him silenced his advice. "No, this isn't just my decision." She shifted her gaze back to the woman, seeking answers. "What happened to Mom? Why now? You said she needs me?" The woman's face crumbled as she took a step closer, her voice filling with urgency. "She's sick, Sarah. She doesn't have much time left. The doctors they've done everything they could. She needs you to forgive her. She needs to see you." Before her voice broke. "Before it's too late. We should go," Jack urged softly, his heart racing. He felt tension building in the air that surrounded them. Every second felt like it was counting down to something uncontrollable. What was she going to say? Would she take this leap? Sarah's silence hung heavily, feeling like an eternity. Deep in her chest, emotions boiled over. Jack watched her, wishing he could sweep her up and take her away from this moment, away from the heartbreak. Finally, her voice cracked like the weight of years crashing down around her. "I can't just leave everything behind. What will happen to us?" Jack squeezed her hand tighter. "You don't have to decide now, but—" He let the "but" linger, hoping to bring clarity. "Sarah," the woman interjected, her voice earnest. "I can help you. You want to be alone in this." She hesitated again, perhaps fearing that her words were too inadequate to counter the fears that rolled off Sarah in waves. "I don't know if I can do this," Sarah whispered. It was hard for Jack to watch her struggle. The weight of the past pressed heavily against her, Yet he admired her courage to stand at this emotional edge. "You have a right to feel scared," he reassured her, his own heart quieting slightly at the look in her eyes. "But we can face this together." With one deep breath, Sarah seemed to muster the last remnants of her strength. "Okay, let us go." As they started to move, the echoes of laughter from the children faded into the background. Jack felt the air thicken around them. What path were they stepping onto? A moment later, the woman led the way with tentative hope lighting her features. Jack couldn't shake the chill creeping through his bones. What if this journey unearthed things better left buried? He glanced at Sarah, her gaze locked ahead, and wondered what secrets lay ahead. The future felt uncertain, and they were about to walk straight into it. Stepping off the school grounds felt like stepping into an entirely new world, one that was both terrifying and filled with potential. As they moved further away, Jack stole a glance back, wondering if this was a farewell to a life they had known or the beginning of something they had only imagined. Would the truth set her free or chain her to a past she was desperate to escape? 3 of her children waited at home, unaware of the emotional storm swirling inside their mother. Sarah felt the weight of each step as they walked, her heart pounding against her ribs. It was hard to believe that one moment could change everything. It felt like entering a different dimension. "Is this really happening?" she mumbled, gripping Jack's hand tighter. The warmth of his touch grounded her, reminding her that she wasn't alone in this tangled mess of emotions. The woman led them down a narrow street, flanked by old trees with gnarled branches, casting long shadows over the cracked pavement. "I know this is overwhelming, but we're almost there," she said, her voice softening when she saw the look of trepidation on Sarah's face. "What if I don't remember her?" The question slipped from Sarah's lips like a confession, a vulnerable admission she hadn't realized she needed a voice. "You'll remember when you see her," the woman assured her, though the tremor in her voice betrayed her own uncertainties. "You were 2 when she left. You have every right to feel angry, but I promise," she wants to explain, "there's so much more to this story." They reached a modest brick house, its garden now wild and unkempt, contrasting sharply with the memories Sarah had of home. She paused at the gate, staring at the tangled weeds that looked like claws grasping at the earth. Jack noticed her hesitation. "Do you want to wait here?" he asked gently. Even though he wanted to support her, he felt the tightness in his throat, sensing trouble lay ahead. "No, I need to know," Sarah replied, though her voice was barely a whisper. Taking a deep breath, she pushed the gate open and stepped onto the path leading to the entrance. The closer they got, the thicker the air seemed to become, each breath tasting bittersweet with anticipation and fear. The woman opened the door without knocking, revealing a dimly lit room. The smell of antiseptic mixed with the faint scent of lavender. A frail figure lay on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, her hair wispy and gray. Tom had not been kind. Mom, the word felt foreign on Sarah's tongue. Her heart raced as their eyes met. "Sarah?" The woman croaked, struggling to get up. She squinted as if trying to recognize a face from a lifetime ago. "Mom, I'm here." The words rushed out, unplanned yet aching with sincerity. Tears filled her mother's eyes as they locked onto Sarah's face, filled with reluctance and longing. "I thought I'd lost you forever." Jack stood at a distance, respecting the moment, but his insides knotted with uncertainty. What was about to unfold? He wanted to reach out, but the power of the moment wrapped around them like a film, encapsulating their pain and hope. "Do you want to sit?" Sarah's mother asked, motioning weakly for her to come closer. Sarah hesitated, frozen in a whirlwind of emotions. How do you forgive someone you've been taught to resent? The silence that followed felt heavy, like an anchor threatening to pull her down. Do I have say in this? Jack thought. He could feel the tempest brewing, wanting to protect Sarah, but unable to shield her from the understanding that decisions had consequences. As Sarah stepped toward her mother, a subtle shift rippled through the air. Hope mingled with dread, and the room felt electric with unspoken words. Would this encounter heal their fragmented past or deepen the wounds carved by time? The clock on the wall echoed loudly with each ticking second, urging them forward. Time felt like it was holding its breath, and Sarah felt the weight of it on her shoulders. As she reached for her mother, resolve eclipsed her uncertainty. An unknown journey lay before her. But what secrets would emerge from the shadows of their lost years? Would forgiveness come easily, or would it unravel deeper pain? "Sarah, please," her mother's voice cracked, drawing Sarah back from the brink of her turbulent thoughts. The softness in that please sent shivers down her spine. Sitting on the edge of the couch felt like diving into an ocean of uncharted waters. She wished she could sail smoothly, but the waves of anger and sadness threatened to capsize her. Her mother was a stranger wrapped in familiar skin. "Why did you leave?" Sarah's voice came out strong, demanding answers even though her heart was faltering. She sat down, forcing herself to meet her mother's gaze, trying to summon the courage she had always been told she possessed. "I had no choice," her mother stammered, her hands trembling. "I thought it would be better for you. I was sick and couldn't take care for you. Not the way you deserved." Each word hung in the air like a fragile glass ornament, beautiful yet ominous. Jack watched from the periphery as shadows flitted across Sarah's face. He could see her resisting the urge to scream while grasping for understanding. "Sick? You left us for that?" Her mother's eyes glistened with unshed tears. "It was the hardest decision of my life. I thought you'd be better off. I thought it was for the best." "It wasn't he." The words burst out of Sarah, raw and jagged. "I never understood any of that. I only felt abandoned." Each syllable carried the weight of years spent searching for answers, for understanding, and coming up empty. "I know, my love. I was wrong." A fragile pause enveloped them, time standing still as Sarah's mind raced. A million memories flooded her thoughts: birthdays without her mother, the empty chair at dinner, sleeping with a picture tucked under her pillow. How could something so simple be so complicated? The room fell silent. The ticking of the clock had turned into a relentless drum, reminding them that time was slipping away. She faced her mother now, this woman who had chosen to put distance between their lives. Did she really want to understand? Did she even care about her? "What do you want from me now?" Sarah forced her words, pulling her strength together. "I want to tell you everything. I want to know you." Her mother's breath hitched between sentences, desperation in her eyes. "I lost my chance once, but I don't want to lose it again." With each heartbeat, Sarah felt a tug of war inside her. Part of her craved connection. The other part was paralyzed by the years of hurt. Could she bridge that vast emotional chasm? Jack, still hovering in the background, felt a surge of protectiveness for Sarah. He could see the storm of emotions swirling around them, her mom battling regret, and Sarah grappling with those memories she had kept buried. But there was something beautiful in that fierce moment, too. "Mom," Sarah's words caught her throat. "I don't know if I can forgive you." "Then can't we just start with the truth?" Her mother responded, her voice cracking with vulnerability. "Please, let me share my side." Sarah's heart raced at the thought. The possibility of healing loomed before her, yet the weight of resentment clawed at her resolve. Conflicted, she searched her mother's face, looking for a sign, a spark that would allow her to lower her defenses. Could she really begin again? Was there a way to merge the past with the present into something new? As she opened her mouth to speak, an unsettling realization settled in her gut. What if the truth she was about to hear was more painful than the silence that had filled her life for so long? "Okay, tell me." Sarah took a deep, shaking breath, feeling the burden of vulnerability settle on her shoulders. "Tell me everything." But as her mother prepared to explain, a sudden knock echoed from the front door, interrupting them. The sound sliced through the fragile atmosphere, leaving everyone on edge. Who could it be? The knock echoed in the silence, reverberating through the room like a thunderclap. Instant tension descended, thick as fog. Sarah's throat tightened as she glanced toward the door. Who could it possibly be? Her mother's eyes darted toward the sound, panic flaring briefly before quickly fading into a mask of uncertainty. Jack stepped forward, instincts kicking in. "I'll check it out," he said quietly, though he glanced over his shoulder at Sarah. You okay? She nodded, though doubt gnawed at her insides. Could she really be okay? Jack opened the door cautiously. Standing there was a stranger, a tall figure dressed in a crisp suit, an air of confidence radiating from him. The sun cast a halo around his head, making him appear almost otherworldly. "Excuse me," he said, his voice smooth as honey. "I'm here to see Sarah Thompson." "Who want to know?" Jack replied, muscles taut, ready to enforce boundaries. "I'm Mason Carter," the man replied, extending a hand. "I know it's unexpected, but I believe I have something important to share with her." Sarah's heart raced at the mention of her name. She stood up almost instinctively. "What is this about?" Mason smiled politely, though his eyes held a glimmer of urgency. "I assure you, it's about the future." Her mother shifted uncomfortably on the couch, doubt clouding her expression. "Should we really let a stranger in?" "Mom, it's fine," Sarah interjected, her curiosity overwhelming any caution. "What do you mean, my future?" Mason took a small step inside, his presence commanding attention. "I am part of a foundation for single parents in the community, and I believe you have incredible potential. I came here to offer you some support." Sarah and her mother exchanged glances. Confusion swirled. Was this a joke? Wasn't she just a struggling young woman trying to piece her life together? "What kind of support?" Sarah asked, searching for any signs of deception. "A scholarship," he continued, his voice steady. "For education. I've reviewed your circumstances. You deserve help to reach your dreams." The words hung in the air, bright against the backdrop of her struggles. Scholarship. Dreams. Those words echoed in her mind, mixing with the waves of emotions she felt only moments ago with her mother. "I don't understand," Sarah breathed, her heart pounding, teetering on the edge of hope. "Why me?" "Because I was once in a similar place," Mason admitted, his tone softening. "Life can turn around in an instant, and my organization wants to help others turn their lives around too." Suddenly, her gaze flickered back to her mother. The woman's face had turned pale, and Sarah couldn't tell if it was shock or something deeper. When her mother had left her, did she think she would never find this kind of help? Did she believe Sarah was destined to remain lost? But it was all too much. Part of Sarah wanted to leap forward into a new beginning, but another part felt a familiar weight pressing down: self-doubt, skepticism. "I don't know if I can," she murmured, the old fears surfacing. Mason took another step closer, genuine empathy radiating from him. "You can, Sarah. Just take a step towards it. You don't have to do this alone." Just as Sarah considered this new possibility, her mother interjected quietly, "What do we have to lose?" Those words echoed. At that moment, Sarah faced a choice: stand frozen in the currents of doubt once again, or take the leap of faith into a future that felt both exciting and terrifying. Could this stranger really be the key to unlocking a new chapter in her life? As she weighed her options, a flicker of determination ignited within her. Every moment spent in regret would pale compared to the chance to forge something new. "I want to know more," she finally said, feeling the first spark of courage ignite. But just as Mason smiled, the front door swung open fully, and behind him, shadows of familiar faces poured into the room, faces that bore an unsettling mix of concern and recognition. Sarah's stomach dropped as she recognized them. The moment was about to change. Everything was about to be turned upside down. What would those unexpected arrivals bring to her already fragile world? The room shifted as familiar faces entered, their presence a swirling storm of emotions. The warmth dissipated, replaced by the chill of confusion and anxiety. Jack's heart raced. He immediately stepped into a protective stance next to Sarah, as if guarding her from uncharted territory. "Mom, is everything okay?" One of the newcomers, a tall man, spoke, his voice strained with concern. He rushed toward her, eyes darting between Sarah and their mother, the tension crackling in the air like static. "It's complicated," Sarah replied, her voice a fragile whisper, as the memories of confusion and hurt surged to the forefront. This wasn't how she envisioned this moment. Wasn't how she wanted to confront her past. The man's eyes softened, understanding the pain she was caught in. "We've been so worried about you," he said, reaching for her hand. The touch felt unfamiliar, yet oddly reassuring. Jack, though still standing close to Sarah, sensed the family ties tighten around them. He could feel the weight of history pressing down on her shoulders. What had unfolded in the brief moments before all these arrivals was grounding, yet precarious, like walking on a tightrope. Who were they? Mason ventured, glancing at Sarah with a questioning expression, his resolved demeanor softening into one of curiosity. Their family, Sarah managed, each syllable a laborious weight on her tongue. She watched as painstakingly slow recognition dawned on those standing before her, aware that they were piecing together the story no one knew how to tell in this moment. The room throbbed with confusion, but also with something potent and familiar love. It wrapped around her fiercely, and for a moment, she let herself breathe in the warmth of connection. "How did you find me?" she asked, directing her question to the man who had approached her, the one who seemed to care, who sought to understand. "We've always been searching," he responded earnestly. "Mom's health, it motivated us to find you. There might still be time to come together as a family." His hand was steady on hers, anchoring her amidst the tumult of emotions. "I didn't think I thought I was left behind," Sarah stammered, tears brimming in her eyes. In her heart, pieces began to click together, forming a picture of something she thought she could never have: a family ready to embrace her. Mason's expression shifted, recognizing the raw intensity of the moment. "Sarah, the past is a crossroads, but it doesn't have to define your future. These people care, and you have the opportunity to build something real here," he affirmed gently, holding her gaze. "Please, let us talk," her mother pleaded softly, her eyes twinkling with an unexpected blend of hope and regret. "I want to make this right." As her heart raced, Sarah glanced at Jack. He wore an expression of unwavering support, silently urging her to take this leap. It felt right to lean into this moment, to unravel the threads of mistrust. Each beat echoed in her chest, a metronome for the choices she had to face. Should she welcome these new connections, or keep them at arm's length? "I want to understand. But this isn't easy," Sarah finally said, her voice shaking with newfound determination. "And it's not just about me, it's about my kids too. That's why we're here." One of her siblings chimed in, reaching out as if to connect the family circuits once severed. "We want to be there for you and for them." Jack's pride swelled at her courage, seeing Sarah step into her power. The tug-of-war inside her had transformed into resolve. "Let us face this together," he said softly, offering her his hand, symbolizing that she wasn't alone. She grasped it, a lifeline threaded between their souls. As words spilled out truths hidden for too long about love, loss, fear, and hope, Sarah felt the weight lift, igniting a spark deep within. Through this unfolding, she had the chance to reclaim her narrative. The room filled with palpable emotion, vulnerability, connection, acceptance. The very thing she had long desired began to take form around her. The laughter of her children outside beckoned, reminding her of what truly mattered. "Sarah?" her mother called gently, overwhelmed by the surge of family surrounding them. "Can we start fresh? Can we try?" And in that moment, standing amidst those shadows of her past, surrounded by love and support, she finally felt the strands of her heart mend. "Yes," Sarah whispered, her voice steadying. "Let us try. Together." With a newfound connection and the warmth of forgiveness swirling around her, they moved forward, each step a promise. The future stretched ahead of them, no longer a void, but a canvas waiting to be painted with new experiences, resilience, and love. That moment, standing side by side with her family, Sarah glanced back at Jack, whose smile radiated warmth and encouragement. No longer the isolated single mom struggling to stay afloat, she was ready to embrace the community that had gathered around her. Whatever the challenges that lay ahead, they would face them together, building the family bonds that had long been severed. A realization washed over her. She was not only meant to survive, she was meant to thrive. And now, the choice was clear. There was no turning back. Subscribe immediately to our channel to never miss the next exclusive stories. You need to subscribe now. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and support our content. It truly makes a difference. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this powerful Ending Your Voice Matters. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this incredible transformation. Don't wait, not even one more second, to share the love and inspiration